Good morning, everybody. Sunday Q&A again. Got a lot to get through today. Lots of questions this week. I've taken to try to answer questions on the Sunday Q&A because it means I don't have to type with my thumbs. And gives me something to talk about on Sunday, but a lot to do. So we'll crack on. Firstly, thanks to Darren again for doing the intro. Really like the intro. The only problem is when I try to upload it onto YouTube, it doesn't want me to monetize it. It kind of finds it a bit tricky. It might because it's got that watermark in the top corner. So I'll keep it, mate. If I can ever work out what's going on, we'll use that. In the meantime, it's just me talking nonsense into the phone as usual. Right, this week's mainly been about high vis. Leon Horton says, the thing about the high vis, it's a pain, but it's often to do with the company's insurance. So when they're like, just say there's like, presumably if there's an accident on site, they'll go, well, we require all of you guys to wear long sleeve. We require you to wear yellow. I know I turned up at one recently and it was railway site. And the guy turned up and I got there and he said, and this was like when it was hot, and he said, we have to wear full long sleeve, high vis, orange jackets, hard hats, glasses, steels and trousers, and it was like 30 odd degrees. He said it was a Friday, there were 3 people on site. And this is a wide open site, there's nothing around, and he said it's just ridiculous, you just can't work in these temperatures. But he said if Network Rail turn up and we're not wearing it, we'll get kicked out. So you've got to do what you've got to do. I forget who mentioned this one. I think it might have been Leon again. He said, oh yes, the insurance. He said that pallet-wise, they have to wear hard hats in the warehouse. There's nothing above them, presumably in case the roof caves in. But it's what it is, isn't it, really? Apparently also, the long finger, it's pointing out, he said there are different classes of high visibility. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. For example, motorways, where class 1, which is a 0.1 square reflective tape and a 0.14 fluorescent material, which obviously has got to be shiny. And then he says, does this make me a proper nerd? Well, if it does, my friend, then you're in good company here, because we're all nerds here, trust me. Well, you guys might not be, but in my house we are. And Jason Burke says, the thing about blue, he says the colour's not a good reflective wavelength. The human eye doesn't pick it up so well. He said bright colours like yellows, oranges have got a good reflective wavelength. They shine out at you. Your darker colours, your blues, your blacks, your browns, your greys, not so much. And in fairness, it's quite clearly not high visibility. So I try to use common sense. If I'm moving around in an area, like for example, if I get to XPO and there are people going left, right and centre in fork trucks, I'm wearing bright orange because I want them to see me. But if I'm turning up at somewhere, and it's kind of like Luton, for example, and all we're doing is moving fridges, I just try and look a bit smarter, So any days they ask me to change, at least I've got something to change into. Nulu says, how do you go about getting regular customers? Mate, regular customers are the holy grail. They are the crock at the end of a rainbow, and as a result of which they're just as difficult to find. I got my regular customer at Laura Ashley because my daughter works there. I got my regular customer at Taylor French because my wife works there. Al got our building customer because he used to meet him in Costa Coffee, and I got the joinery company because I parked my van about 2 units away. But you keep trying. The best way to do it is hard work. You've got to put a suit on, you've got to put a shirt on, you've got to walk around places, you've got to talk to people, you've got to try and scope them out, you've got to maybe find something you think, well, I'm going to target Printworks, I've got a friend of mine, Ray, he wants to target aviation people because he's into planes. And he can go, well, I wouldn't mind picking up from Plain Place and take place. I'd enjoy that kind of stuff. So find someone to target, ring them up, talk the question. It's hard. You're going to get kicked back 99 times out of 100, but 1 time in 100 is a start. Yeah, so that's the only way to do it, mate. Unfortunately, it's not going to be easy. Rob Kelly says, how do I change the location on the app? You don't. Unfortunately, what the app will show you, it normally shows you about 30 miles away from your house and 10 miles away from where your current location is. You can put on future journeys, and by the way, if anyone knows better than me, let me know please, because I could have this wrong. You can put on future journeys, you can put on going to journeys, which might show you the locations and stuff you're going to. I've always found that complicated, to be honest with you. It pings up jobs that aren't where I want to be. So, but there are other ways around it. Like I say, the desktop version will do it. So just do it from the desktop. So there's your answer for that one. What we got going on? Oh, another one about Steve Davis. Yeah. he said, regarding the size of a van, and Al said about this before as well, he said, I used to run like a high roof long wheelbase, and he said I was struggling to get 90 pence a mile. He says now I'm running a short wheelbase, and he said I can get, consistently, 85p a mile, 85p a mile. He said, but my fuel costs have gone down by half. So rather than doing like 150 quid a week, he's doing like 50 quid a week. And I think it was Steve who also come up with the question last week, and he says, problem I'm getting is £85 for a 2-hour job and £85 for a 4-hour job. And I've been thinking about this, and there's kind of a dead zone in the fact that if you're doing a job, if I'm doing a job, say for example from Berkhamsted to White City, I've done the other day, you're going to get like 60, 70 quid on that job, despite the fact it's only 20 odd miles. But if you were going to go 50, 60 miles, you're still only going to get 60, 70 quid, maybe 80 quid. So there is, you hit a point where you think, well, it's either got to be 120 miles or it's got to be 20 miles. Anything in that mid-zone, you're doing time and you're doing diesel for no more money. And that's kind of a bit frustrating, but that is kind of the way it is. Once again, anyone out there, thoughts, please. I will discuss them next week. Craig and Button's outdoor adventure, he's been doing a bit of courier and he wants to get thinking about joining the CX. He said, is 6 months enough time to get a feel for CX? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. I mean, I've only been doing it myself for nearly 12 months, and you'll know pretty quick. And you could, like I say, the CX is very handy if you're already doing your existing couriering thing to get backloads. You've only got to do 2 jobs a month to pay for yourself. And you're just running on it. I mean, some people are saying it is very tough for some people out there, but I'm running on it predominantly and I'm clearing decent money. So all I can say is what's happening for me. He did also say, about the idea of like plain PODs. Can you staple PODs with like your company name on afterwards? No, absolutely no. No, that when you're running on the CX, if you're running for somebody, if they book you, you are effectively working for them. So there's no business cards, plain PODs. You go in, if you're working for, I don't know, City Sprint or Speedy Freight, there are a few of the big ones on there. You go in as City Sprint or Speedy Freight. For all intents and purposes, that's who you are. And if you do it any other way, it can be considered poaching. They'll kick you off the CX for that. So don't do it. Just, when you get your own customers, and you will hopefully eventually get your own customers, then you can go in as you. But when you're working on the CX, you're working as a subcontractor for someone else. That's the way it's got to be. Martin Bates. Do courier drivers take dogs with them? Yeah, there's no reason why not. You can have your dog in the cab. Some of them have, you can have your wife in the cab. I've run with other people in the cab. If you want to try and train someone, you can put them in the cab. Yeah, it's not really a problem. Most people do just tend to run themselves in the van. I think we're a solitary bunch, to be honest with you. But there's no reason why you can't take a dog with you. There might be certain sites. The only thing that I say there could be a difficulty. There might be certain places you go to, and they're going to go, no, you can't bring the dog in, mate. I mean, I don't know how you'd stand on that one, to be honest with you. But there's no reason particularly why you couldn't run with a dog in you. I would be careful of certain, actually, let's have some feedback on that one. Can you go into an airport compound with a dog? Can you go into sort of like parcel force with a dog? I don't know. Yeah, the short answer is I don't know. But if anyone's watching, leave some comments. You can either read the comments or we'll discuss it next week. Christian Even says use Waze as opposed to Google Maps, because Waze redirects, whereas Google will just show you the traffic. I do use Waze. I don't like Google. I've tried to go onto it a couple of times just to say, well, maybe I'm missing out on something here. And many times it's taken me to the middle of a dual carriageway and say, you've arrived at your destination. And I'm thinking, I haven't. This ain't a carpet warehouse. I use Waze all the time, and I highly recommend Waze. I think it's free, and it's by far the best one out there, in my opinion. Unless you want to do money on like a proper TomTom or something like that. If you just want the free one on your phone, Waze is the way forward. Goma 21 made a point about London. He said London is a pain, but you can make 250 a day on 25 quid's worth of diesel. And he's right. I know Tony runs it. And if you get the right jobs, and what you need to make money in London, you need an educated shipper, and you kind of need a multi-drop. So you kind of need a Luton van. You can do 4 or 5 pallets back, 4 or 5 pallets, and you can do it, and you get money for the drops type thing. But if you do it right, it can be done, but it is painful. sitting in traffic jams just isn't fun. The open roads, you know, driving over sort of Cumbria, or driving around Oxford, Norfolk, wide open things, radio going, window down's nice. Sitting in traffic, beep, beep, beep. Oh, can't drive there, can't turn there. It's not fun. But hey, at the end of the day, money's money. MB deliver Luton van. He said, could you work in a Luton low loader? You can. As C11 Yan, our resident shipper, Ian, I think it's Ian, I'm sure it's Ian. He says he's got 3 on his fleet, and he says, yeah, there is work for them, but not a lot comes out to CX. Most of it is either going to want a Luton van with a tail lift because you're dropping pallets or dropping something heavy, or a curtain sider because it needs to be loaded with a fork truck or it's long. There is a way, and I will show you when I get round to it, to load a Luton van with a tail lift with a long pallet. But what I've got to do is I've got to get the job first, and I haven't had one like that for a little while. Next time I do it, I'll video it for you. OC, what kind of VAT do you charge? 20%? And to be honest with you, the CX actually works it out for you. So when you quote the price without the VAT. We've done over 1,200 jobs now. I've had one person ring me up and go, I didn't realise there was VAT involved. That's a bit cloudy, that's better. Most shippers on there are going to expect to see an invoice come in with VAT. They're professional people. Dan Lee, any jobs around Newcastle? It's not the greatest area, but it's not the worst. You could be worse, you could be in Penzance, you could be in the middle of Wales, you could be in the middle of Scotland. Stuff comes out of Newcastle. I lived in Middlesbrough for 3 years. I studied in Middlesbrough for 3 years. I went to Teesside Polytechnic. Got my degree from university because it became a university the year I left, but it's still a polytechnic in my mind. Love Middlesbrough. Really nice people. Nothing like waking up to smell of bromide. But yeah, there's stuff around you. You've got Newcastle, you've got manufacturing. Basically, anywhere there's manufacturing or anywhere there's industrial, you're going to get work. So you've got Newcastle, you've got Stockton, you've got Darlington, you've got Borough. So yeah, you get stuff out of York, you get stuff out of Durham, bit out of Durham. It's a little bit further to travel. You might find a little bit further. Ask yourself the question, do you want to go home every night, or are you quite happy to sleep out? Because if you're happy to sleep out, it doesn't really matter where you're from, because when you end up in it, really. But yeah, there is work, mate. There is some work out there. What we got? Martin Cloudu, can you do 2 jobs at the same time? Right, I'm covering both the main issues there. Only if you tell the shipper both. Right, there's 2 main things the CX don't want you to do. Firstly, you go in as the company you work for, which I've already mentioned in the video. Secondly, don't co-load unless you get express permission from both the shippers. So say, for example, if it's a non-time job, and we've had jobs like this, one of the guys, he got a job out of Leeds, and it was like Leeds to London, and then he got a job 10 minutes later at one piece. So one pinged up. It was literally 5 minutes round the corner, didn't need to be delivered till the next day. Well, that's okay, because then that's not a time job. So he picked up the second job quickly, and if it had been any more than 5 minutes, it's a no-go. Did the job that he was set to do, and then drop the next one off the next morning. But the way to do it is, if you get a job on board, and another one comes up, and it's like from the same area, going to the same area, then you've got to do is you've got to ring the shipper that you've got the job on board with and say, look, there's a job up here. Or ring the second guy and go, look, I want to do your job. I'll do it for cheap because I've got 2 on board, but I've got to ring the first shipper and make sure it's okay with him first. Then ring the first shipper, and as long as he says it's okay, you can do it. If he says no, I've done it before, and they turn around to me and said no. He said, in the nicest possible way, the customer wants it there quickly, but thank you very much for being honest with us. And I said, no problem, mate. And then you ring the other guy back and say, sorry, I can't do it. But if they both say yes, and it's a good way to make money because you're going to get 2 jobs for the price of 1. It doesn't happen that often. But if you can get it going, again, it's much easier when you get your own customers, because your own customers are a lot more flexible. A lot of it is same-day deliveries rather than as soon as possible, in which case you can put a hot shot in between. So, but don't upset your own customers, for God's sake. They are the holy grail, like I say. Martin Bates, how do you add your bank details to the desktop? You can ring the CX, they'll tell you how to do it, but I think it's in accounts, and then there's something in settings. It's pretty user friendly. And he said he did a job recently, and he said the company asked for no paperwork. If they ask for no paperwork, don't send the paperwork. If they ask for just paperwork, send the paperwork. We do everything unless they expressly ask for no paperwork, in which case it can delay payment. So don't do it then. I wish more people did ask for less paperwork. It's a faff, and it's not environmentally friendly, and God knows what they do with it. But it's a requirement. And if you don't send the paperwork, and for 90% of them, if you don't, a lot of them will say no POD, no hard copy POD, no payment. So get them PODs off and sent. They are important. And coming to the end of it now. Sorry, I kind of rabbited a bit quick because I say a lot to get through. Speedy Freight Burnley said, "Good luck in the new venture." Thanks, guys. We're working on it. We will. I fear I may need it. And Smithy says, "When I was waiting for the metro job, did I have a beer while I was waiting?" Yes, I did. And yes, I did. I do still do that. And finally, commiserations to Steve Davis. We were talking about high visibility. Steve had a pair of trainers and a high visibility jacket nicked out of his van this week. Well, mate, they can run, but they can't hide. That's his joke. I can't take responsibility for that, but it made the family laugh. I quite liked it. So, anyway, Sunday Q&A. There you go, guys. Sun's still shining. Winter is coming. We're scraping the windscreen of the van before you know it, but in the meantime, let's just make the most of it. Enjoy your Sunday. Have a rest. Bang on it tomorrow. Take care, take money.